Alrighty, part 2, Sharp Customs, the airbrushing. I had a few comments and requests on equipment, paints, just some of the more detailed stuff, the things you need, air pressures, stuff like that. So basically I'm going to kind of quickly go over it. I'll kind of show you what I got going on here. So basically the airbrushes I've been using are these ones. This is kind of how they come in a cardboard box. This is a cheapie from Wish. This is a Yarboy, I think it's called. I think that's the name. Yarboy. I don't know. It's Y-A-R-B-O-L-Y. Yarboy. I don't know. They're not bad for, roughly, I think when I bought them they were about $10. The other one I have hooked up on the board where I'm going to be airbrushing, that is a Spirit Air. Now technically, I'll just show you very quickly. We're going to swing. We're going to swing. They are pretty much identical airbrushes, but there is a difference. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but the button on this one is further from the bowl. This one is a little bit closer, which kind of makes this one my favorite because of how I use it. Like that, my finger is not touching the bowl, and this one, my finger rubs the bowl. I notice it. I got big fingers. This one not as comfortable as this one, so I probably will get a couple more of these ones. This is the Spirit Air, and if you want to know where to get them, I got both of these off of Wish. As far as the time wait, I don't think it was too bad. It was only about a week they were here. Now this one, pardon me, this one actually came with different size nozzles, different size tips, and different size needles. Came with a spare 3mm, kind of nice, and it came with a bigger one, a 5mm. I haven't used it. I'm doing finer detail stuff. Not only does it come with the needles, it comes with the cap and the tips. And I can tell you, these tips, so this old dog right here, this is a HPSB by Iwata, made in Japan. This was my workhorse for almost 20 years of airbrushing, and it got dropped. If you look at it, it's pretty crusty. This is a button off of an old used airbrush because I literally wore the brass off of the stem, so I had to put another button on it. There's different springs in it because the springs wore out. Even this is kind of a makeshift side cup feeder. That's kind of looks like it's got some solder on it. What I liked about it was the fact that I could turn it. So aiming down, I could turn the bowl to keep it upright, spraying straight. Don't know where this bowl came from. I had a couple of various sizes. It's got O-rings in here, so when I was tipping the bowl different ways, it didn't leak. But that was my workhorse, and I probably spent enough money on tips and needles for this when I was using it to completely buy another one. And just a quick little rundown, I took one of these out. So there's your tip. So basically when I was buying the parts for the Iwata, I was spending about $45 for one of those tips, which I thought was, very expensive. But like I say, now you can get them elsewhere. These ones from Wish, pretty darn cheap. I'm just going to throw these back in the cap. We'll put them away. So that's the airbrushes. Fairly cheap, okay. Is there a big difference between, a $400, $500 airbrush, a $10 airbrush? I don't do a whole lot of airbrushing right now, but I don't really see a difference, you know. It's all just more or less practice, practice, practice. Learn your equipment, you know. Try and keep your stuff clean. I would say is a big, you know. I'm very bad for leaving paints in my airbrush overnight. They're usually fine in the morning. You know, I usually take the airbrush, put my fingers over the tip, of course, without the nozzle on, or your safety nozzle. And I just give it a few pumps like that, and it blows air bubbles back into the chamber, mixes the paint back up, and, you know, away I go. And I do clean them out. Now I use mainly, you know, paints like these. These are automotive paints, Omni, made by PPG. They're just base paints. I use up a lot of, you know, other projects I paint and stuff. I do, from time to time, get a specially formulated mixture of my whites and blacks, because I like the pigment to be just a little more solid. So I get them to mix me pure white, and I get them to not quite put in as much binder. So it's like you know, normally when you buy a quart of paint in a white color like this, they're going to put 75% binder and, you know, 1/4% of the toner, the pigment, the color, whatnot. Sometimes I'll get them to do me a 50-50, and it just basically, all that does when I cut it with the reducer, it just gives me a higher solid, you know, when I want a nice bright whites, or, you know, and mixing your paint, that's, you know, that's totally up to you. That's all experimental. Sometimes when I'm getting into really refined pictures, I might go as far as going, you know, 60% reducer, 40% paint. I've gone even higher. I've gone up to 75% reducer, 25% paint. It all depends on the job that I'm airbrushing. And that is also determined, or that will also determine my airbrushes. Because the paint being thinned out more, I tend to knock back my air pressure, maybe down to, you know, somewhere in the range of 12 to 15 pounds, because I don't want that really lightened paint coming out fast. Lately, most of the stuff I've been doing, like I say, I'm cutting the paint about 1:1, and I'm running, have my regulator set at 30 psi, but as soon as I start airbrushing, because I'm running such a long hose, it knocks it back to around 20 pounds. You know, being a beginner, I would suggest, you know, start out low. Start low and kind of play with it. You know, practice a bit. You know, you could start as low as 10 psi. And you could start there, and if you didn't, you know, play around with it, see what happens, and then slowly bump it, you know, maybe bump it up to 20, try 20, see what happens. You know, practice with 20 for a bit, and then do the same thing again, bump it up to 30. It all depends on how your air system works too. Like I say, mine does about a 10-pound drop, because I'm running, you know, I got, oh, I don't know, 50 feet of air hose. If you're hooked direct, let's say to an airbrush compressor, you're probably going to keep it right in around, you know, somewhere between 15 and 20. A couple other things, I'll talk more about compressors in a second. A couple other things you want, you want obviously knives. You know, I use number 11 blades. I also use these, it's pretty small, but it's a swivel blade. Great for, you know, when you're cutting, doing corners. Blades, good to have. Razor blade, another good weapon of choice for cutting templates and papers and stencils. You know, if you're going to use razor blades, be careful. Got this little wrench. That's pretty essential. That takes out the tips, fits right over. You know, when I first got this airbrush, I did not have one of these little wrenches. They usually come with the airbrush, so you don't get worried about that. Another nifty little thing I came across, I don't even know, I wish I could tell you where I got it, but I got this nice little, see this little brush? Beautiful brush for cleaning out. It won't go in the tip, but in the nozzle section in the front of the airbrush it works good, and it's great for getting down in the bowl for cleaning it out. Nice little brush. Had that brush a long time. Probably going to wear out soon. You're going to want a cutting mat. You know, get one of these. It's essential. It's a self-healing mat. You know, when you're cutting stencils, paper. Stencils, you know, you can get squares, circles, you can get all kinds of templates. I'm sure most of you already know that. Another good thing to have lying around that took me a long time to actually figure it out was this stuff right here, which you get this at a vinyl shop where they cut vinyl. This is called transfer paper. If you've ever put a sticker on something, this will be on the back of the vinyl. And basically it's low tack, so when you peel the paper off the sticker, you stick it on the window, you know, you rub it, and then you peel your transfer paper off. This is great for stenciling, you know, for covering up. You can even get away with putting this onto something, stenciling it, cutting it, you know, gently, and pulling it out, and it working out fairly decent for you. Transfer paper. Not saying it's essential, I'm not saying you need it. It's nice stuff to have around. Okay, paints. Like I said, I spray base paints, mostly automotive. As far as containment, I like these little metal cans. I try and save them. This was probably a can with some hardener in it, and I just rinse it out with reducer, let it dry out. You know, you don't want the hardener to be left in there. This is mixed yellow. I like these cans the best because they're designed for the chemicals. You could use heavy duty. I'm thinking this was an isopropyl bottle, maybe. I'm not sure. Pretty durable, pretty thick. This is my mixed black. Okay. Water bottles. As you can see, I have white in here, and it's been in here probably close to a year, and it's slowly, I'm not sure what it's doing to the bottle, so I would suggest don't use water bottles, you know. And it's turning. Look at it. It don't look white anymore. It almost looks blue. You know, get yourself some nice little containers to store your mixed stuff in. You know, you can also go this route. Like this morning, I put a little bit of white out of here, and I put my 50% reducer, and this is what I'll be using today. I'll probably disregard this or use it up, probably, no doubt. Okay, compressors. Compressors. So way over there in the corner, I've got an 80-gallon compressor because, you know, I use it to paint full-size cars. Okay, that thing, I can fill that thing up, and I can probably work for, oh, I don't know, maybe 10 hours without having to fire it up. Airbrushing. I'm talking about airbrushing. Airbrushing running, you know, 20 psi, providing there's no leaks in the system. And right now, today, I hear a leak in the system. I just made this new manifold. I don't know if the camera mic will catch it, but basically this regulator, it's not broken, but there's something going on inside it. It's leaking a bit, so you can hear it. It's leaking. It'll be okay for today. And now I have this other neat little compressor here. It's actually, it's a Mastercraft. I'm sure you can get these anywhere. Here in Canada, this probably came from Canadian Tire. It was probably expensive. I have seen them online, fairly reasonable. I think you can pick one of these up for, I'm going to say less than $100. And this is kind of a use-on-demand system. And basically, I can show you, I'll plug in, I'll show you how it works. It's kind of a neat little unit. If you want to be mobile, it's probably the best route to go. It has a pressure switch right here, because obviously you can see that it's tankless. It has no tank. So basically it builds pressure in this outer system from the head, and it shuts on and off as you use it. So like I say, kind of a use-on-demand system. Let's turn it on. It's quiet, I'll give you that. It's very quiet. Now watch. See, it's built the pressure. See, now it's going to go into semi-shutdown mode. As soon as I pull this trigger, it's going to go back on. And it's going to bring my pressure back up to whatever my regulator is set, which is set at 20. So watch, I won't, there. Problem with these is when you pull the trigger, the air is not there. You have to wait for the air to build. That is the only downfall with this system. Like when that shuts off, see, there's very little air there. Okay, now it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Now I'm at full air pressure, my 20 pounds. That's about the only thing I don't like about these use-on-demand thingies. They're nice though, they're nice and quiet. If you're working in your house, that's another thing, you do not have to use automotive paints for airbrushing. You could use, there's many different brands of airbrush paints. One of the good ones is made by Createx, it's Auto Air. I think now they have some pretty cool Auto Air effects paints. You can get all your fancy colors, metallic colors. You can get the reducers. You get the little storage bottles, so if you want to make your pre-mix colors. I personally, I use 5. I use black, white, a fire yellow, I'm going to say a fire engine red, and I think it's indigo blue. Those are my 5 main. I can pretty much create everything I need for airbrushing just with those 5. Basically to me those, the yellow, the red, and the blue, those are your primary colors. You can make just about every other color with those colors. Can you use the cheap dollar store acrylic paints? Yes, you can. You can use them. They're cheap. I would suggest buying yourself a bottle of distilled water as a, most of those cheap dollar store paints, they are water soluble. They're an acrylic. You're going to have to thin them. You're going to have to thin them very well. Some of them are pretty goopy, so you're going to have to thin them a lot. It probably wouldn't hurt to, get your reduction down to where you like it, and then filter the paint. Go to an automotive paint supply shop, pick yourself up a couple, 120, 125 micron paint filters and run them through. And if you're using the water, you can keep that filter. You can just rinse it out and keep it, and reuse it over and over. Reduce, reuse, recycle, if you know what I mean. Let's do some airbrushing. How about that? I promised some white. As you can see on the painting, I got carried away yesterday. I finished the black, the black is not finished. I'm going to have to go in and do some shadowing. But as you can see, I started doing some white, and let me just say that all these lines here, all these lines, all in here, all these small spaces. This stuff is so hard to do. It's, you know, I'm going to suggest that it's going to be all about what you want the painting to look like in the end. You know, are you going for professionalism? You want a photorealistic picture, or do you want that picture that you can frame and put on your wall, you know, and like that one up there. I could pull that board down if the camera wants to show it. It's just tiger eyes. I could pull that down and I could show you the detail in that picture, and the detail in that picture would not even be close to this picture. But up there it looks great. That up there actually was a bar table top that I made for somebody. They never picked it up, so it's a wall hanger. I used to have tons of wall hangers, pictures, boards, things like this all over the garage, and kind of when I stopped airbrushing for a while, I just cleaned shop and put it this way, a lot of my friends got a lot of my cool airbrushings. I have one good friend, D-Man, you know who you are. He's got probably the biggest collection of my airbrush stuff. I'm going to grab the airbrush and I'm going to start doing, I'm not going to get too technical. There's no way I could possibly finish this, but I'll show you some of the things that you're going to deal with, you know, getting in the smaller spaces, and then we'll probably go to some bigger spaces. As far as the eyes, basically what I did is I put literally a white dot. I put a little tone under the black, and then in the you know, right at the edge of the eye, I just put a little white spatter and a little bit in here, and it just makes, to me, it just makes the eye pop. And there's little highlights like in around the nose area. You know, you just brighten it up, and you can keep coming back, because like I said, I'm probably going to be coming back in here and doing some more shading with black once I get all my white laid down. Now, another good essential piece of equipment right here. Yeah, it's a tack cloth. When you take these, when they're brand new and you take them out of the package, just so everybody knows, because I didn't know for many, many years. I stopped using tack cloths because I take them out of the package and go, oh man, I can't rub that on the car to get all the dust off. It's all gooey and sticky, and it might leave like a residue. It's because you're supposed to take it out of the package. Read the instructions on the package. Don't be like me. I never read the instructions. You're supposed to actually take it out and let it hang. Let it hang for about 15 or 20 minutes, and then fold it back up and use it, because what it needs to breathe, and it needs I'm going to say it off gases, but that's not really what's happening. The harsh, whatever's in these tack cloths, it needs to evaporate a bit, and then you won't have that problem with residue and the real sticky, you know, you'll figure it out. Just take it out of the package, let it hang. When you're done with it, I'll show you, because I put lots on here. It's probably got a little bit of overspray, so we'll just give it a quick little wipe. Now I'm just going to fold it back up. Fold it back up. And I'm going to put it back in the package because I can use it again. I'm just going to fold it, keep it sealed so no dirt gets on it. There you have it. Another one of them, you know, reduce, reuse, recycle. Like you get a lot of mileage out of a tack cloth. You know, I say we do some airbrushing. Let's do it. I didn't want to make this another, you know, career video. I've got my white mixed. I'm not even sure the mixture on it. we're just gonna go for it and see what happens. Should probably start somewhere where, just so I can see. Yeah, it's pretty white. It's pretty over here. Notice I started doing some whiskers. Cat whiskers are pretty cool. See there, I can make that stand out over the other white. I'm probably gonna come back in and maybe shadow it just a little bit. I'm not sure. Whiskers. Yeah, it's hard to follow your same line, I can tell you that. But if you do them quick, remember, and you can go both ways, just remember to stop. That's a cool whisker. I'm going to go up in here to some of the finer areas. I have my reference picture. Don't really need it today for what I'm doing. I'm just going to do in between here. And now you could do individual hairs. You could do individual hairs. My white's nice and bright today. That's nice. It's a fresh batch. And you don't got to be too precise, you know. You can do the squiggle. Don't be afraid. You can do the squiggle. You don't even have to do the squiggle. You could just fill it in very light. Like here, I'll come up through here. I won't even do, I'm just gonna blow some white in there, and then I'll come down here and I'll do a little bit of squiggle. See that? And then if you want, you can come back, and because if you notice up here, I've got little pieces of white coming over the black. So that's when you come in, you know, you get right tight, you know, and you can, you know, because it's fur and it's going everywhere. It don't have a set path. But like I say, this is where it gets pretty intricate. Trying to get in these places, because this is supposed to be a white tiger. And always remember that the fur is always changing. You know, up through here, it comes up through straight off of the snout, right around the eyebrows. It starts to curve towards the ears, and then below the eye, it actually starts to, you know, it's going out that way. It's starting to always taper. Just good, like I say, good reference photo. You know, kind of look at it. You know, look at it, especially for animals with fur, because you can get overwhelmed looking at it, because you look at a spot and you go, well, I can't see which way the hair is going, or the fur. You know, I can't really see it. Well, you know what? If that's the case, then pull up another reference photo. Doesn't have to be the same photo. You just want to kind of diagnose which way the fur is being directed. Okay, now this long stuff. We're going to get into this long stuff, and this is where your practice, you know, up and down on the button, in and out. This is where it's going to come into play, because, you know, you got longer strokes going on here. You know, basically what I'm doing here is and then you got to start to move all weird. You know, you're doing ups, downs, ins, outs. You're doing snakes. Not snakes, but, you know, kind of a lot of S's type thing. You want to kind of follow what's going on there. And you can come across this black. You can come across the black. And it's just repetitive, is what I'm going to say. It's all repetitive. You know, it's dagger stroke out, dagger stroke in, dagger stroke out, daggers. And what I mean is you're pushing forward on the needle, so it goes, you know, as I go out, I go to a tip. As I come back, I go to a tip. Back and forth, back and forth. You don't even, you know, you don't have to worry too much if you mess up, because, like I say, you know, you come back in with black. You get a weird spot that you don't like, or let's say too much paint, like right there, that little dagger stroke, I got pretty heavy right there. That don't matter. That doesn't matter at all, because I'm going to be coming back. I'm going to be, like I say, you get into doing wildlife like this. There's other cheap ways. You don't have to, you know, you don't have to, you don't have to, you don't have to be perfect. You can flare this fur. You know, you can flare it. I know, on the camera you can't even really see what's going on. You know what? Through my eyes sometimes I can't really see what's going on, but I just keep going because eventually it's building the layers. You know, I'm always kind of moving on. I could go real slow. Here, watch. I'll go real slow with one. We'll see if the camera... Maybe I'll do one through the black area here. I'll go real slow. Ooh, there we go. Come back over it. See, I don't really... Personally, I don't like to move that slow. You know, I like to move a little faster. Makes the paint a little smoother. And then once you get some hairlines down in there like that, as you can see in between, there's still blank spots where there's no white, but you can come back in, you know, come out, come away from the painting. Just give it a light haze. Give it a light haze, you know, haze out, feather out, and you'll see it. You'll see it start to whiten out. And you're not losing. Okay, what you're doing is the black in behind there, it's what they call, you know, it's getting a little bit milky is what they call it. But if we look at the reference photo, you know, out around the outer edges, it's kind of like that anyway. It's not defined. You know what I mean? That's like in here. In here, you know, the black looks kind of more defined because this white's coming over it. And like I say, we'll take care of that. When I come back in with black, I'm going to probably be doing in here, and I'll make that look more refined. And it's just a process of going back and forth with the white, kind of until you get what you want. So yeah, like I say, I'll come back in here. I'll highlight some of this with the black, you know, I'll define it. And then this one, of course, my black is it'll probably taint the white again. So I'll have to come back with my white. But like I say, each step that I do, it's less and less. It's less and less work because you're only refining edging. And as you notice with my reference photo, it's very white, very bright out on that outer mane of the tiger. I put in lots of heavy black because I wanted the black to be heavy so that when I come over it with the white, you know, I can kind of bury it. And that's like your lines. You know, you get going good like this. Just remember, dagger strokes in, dagger strokes out. Very small movements. You know, you can take the white out over the white. I can fog more white there. You know, if I think that's still a little dark, I can fog more white. Using the automotive paints, there's one bonus to it, and that's it almost instantly dries as I'm spraying it. Like, you know, I can touch that now. It's dry because there's so much reducer. Like you can do little cattails. It's a nice thing about fur. Nice thing about fur is kind of has no direction. It just it flows, you know. Wildlife is, I love painting wildlife. Wolves, tigers. I've even done birds. I've done, I can't remember what they're called. Hummingbirds, You know, peach face lovebirds. Christ, I've even airbrushed butterflies. I've airbrushed flowers, roses, blah, blah, blah. Can't say I've airbrushed everything, but I've airbrushed a lot of things for people over the years. Just on request. Okay. Like I said, I don't want this video to go on and on like the last one. So there, you get the idea. Lots of dagger strokes. You know, don't be afraid to go over and fill it in a bit. You're gonna, you know, I'm gonna come back once this has all been whited out. You know, it's not too much, a little bit of white goes in around the snout area. It'll look totally, you know, it'll look more like this side of the cat. And then I'll come back in. I gotta do some, I don't even know how to say it, but I gotta darken in under his chin to make the chin pop, and it'll kind of be the same process as doing the white, you know. But like I say, every step gets less and less and less. All this black, believe it or not, all this black that I put on here wasn't even a full bowl of reduced black in this airbrush. It was maybe 2/3 of it. The white, a little bit more. I think this is my second bowl, but I'm doing a lot more line work with the white. Now, just before I go, this does not have to be a white cat. I could blow some yellow over this and some red and then some blue, and I could literally, or I could pre-mix my paint, make a, you know, like a lion, tiger, orangey type color. I prefer to do it in layering. A little tricky, a little harder to learn. But yeah, I could make this look like, you know, just an ordinary jungle cat if I wanted to. I'm going for the white tiger because I want to put the blue, just subtle blue in the eyes. Those cats look so cool. So, I hope I didn't miss anything. Yeah, so for beginners, you know, you have to experiment with your air pressure and your mixtures on your paints. You know, beginners, I wouldn't be running out and buying crazy expensive automotive paint. Try and get your hands on the Auto Air by Createx. I'm not going to say it's cheap either, cheaper than automotive paint. You know, if you're just starting, I like to show more of the intermediate airbrush artist, somebody who's, you know, they've picked it up, they've kind of learned all the tips and tricks, and, you know, paper stenciling and doing the stars and the clouds, and, you know, they're kind of on the road. You know, they're on the road, they're excited about it, they want to learn new stuff, and like I say, practice, practice, practice. But for the beginners, if you really want to try the dollar store paint, you know what, try it. Try it. I personally have never tried it, but it's worth a shot. It's cheap. Just remember you're going to have to dilute it a lot. That being said, I think this video's part 2 has gone on. I hope I covered everything people wanted to know. And, you know, Sharp Customs, share, like, subscribe. We're going to be doing more airbrushing in the future. For now, I'm out. Peace.